Hi, my name is Remy, and this presentation is all about carboxylic acid. We just went over this in class, but in case you need a refresher, a carboxylic acid is made up of a double bond with oxygen connected to a carbon, and then that's connected to an OH atom, and then it's also connected to R, which just stands for rest of molecule. In this case, we can make it CH3. I decided to draw it, but then me and my daughters also made this little Play-Doh replica. Essentially, in case you need more of a visual, this will be the oxygen, and it's double bonded to the carbon, and then this can be the CH3, and then this can be the OH atom. I decided to pick this functional group as one of my favorites just because of how connected it is to health and fitness. I'm in school to become a dietitian, and I was a health and fitness coach for 3 years, so this is definitely my passion. And the first thing that I learned about this functional group is that it is one that helps make up amino acids, which is the building blocks to protein, and protein was just so interesting. So an amino acid is made up of amines and carboxylic acid. There are 20 amino acids total, so 9 of them are essential amino acids and 11 of them are non-essential amino acids. What makes them essential is that the body cannot produce them, so you have to go and find them in food, and essential just means that the body can produce them and you do not need to find them in food. So like I mentioned, there's 20 of them. Something that I found really interesting is that if a protein has all 9 amino acids, then it's called a complete protein, and this is the best for muscle synthesis. So if you work out and then you go and have a protein shake, you will want it with whey protein instead of collagen peptides, because collagen peptides is not a complete protein, but whey protein is. Other examples of a complete protein is eggs, chicken, literally like any kind of meat. But if you're vegetarian, you can also have rice and beans, and that combination is also a complete protein. Amino acids aren't just responsible for helping you build muscle though, they affect everything in your body. So for example, leptin and ghrelin affect your appetite and your hunger. The amino acids leucine and glutamine affect your insulin and affect your blood sugar. Glutamine can also help regulate cortisol, and the amino acids tyrosine creates T3 and T4, which helps regulate metabolism and energy production. So if you ever go get your thyroid checked out, you'll actually notice the T3 and T4 markers, just because those are very important in making sure that your metabolism is working properly. And there's other amino acids that help regulate estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, serotonin, melatonin, dopamine, non-epinephrine, if I'm saying that correctly, and epinephrine, or just adrenaline. Let's just stick to adrenaline because those are some hard words to say. So basically, if you want to be full and satisfied, if you want to have a fast metabolism, if you want to be happy and lower your stress, and if you want to prevent blood sugar spikes and regulate your hormones, then just make sure that you're eating enough protein. You're supposed to be eating 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. The next carboxylic acid example that I just thought was so interesting is lactic acid. So lactic acid is a combination of an alcohol and a carboxylic acid, and the body creates this when you're doing really intense exercise like HIIT cardio, really intense weight training, or sprinting, and your body just needs the energy right then and there, but your body's not producing enough oxygen to give you that energy. That's where lactic acid comes in. A process called lactic formation happens, and that's essentially where the cells break down glucose to give your body energy without oxygen, so that way you can still finish out like your really intense workout. Because of this process, lactate can actually accumulate in the muscle, and that's why a lot of the times it's blamed for soreness, but it will actually exit your system within an hour or so after you're done exercising. So it's not actually responsible for soreness. In fact, it can actually delay muscle soreness. I mentioned earlier that lactate acid also clears out of your system within an hour or so after you work out, but sometimes it can also be transferred to the liver or the heart, and they can use it as fuel as well. Aside from exercise, another thing that lactic acid is known for is also skincare. It can exfoliate your skin because it can help remove dead skin cells, and it's also really good for hydrating your skin because it draws in the moisture. The last example of a molecule containing carboxylic acid is citric acid, and I thought this one was really interesting just because it's like found in everyday things like your oranges or your lemons, so I just wanted to learn more about it. This molecule contains 3 carboxylic acid groups and 1 hydroxyl group, so it looks a little bit crazy. Citric acid plays a crucial role in the Krebs cycle, and this just is a process that turns carbohydrates, fats, proteins into energy. It also helps the body create more stomach acid, which can help with digestion. Another really cool thing is that citric acid acid binds to minerals like calcium, magnesium, zinc, and iron to make them more soluble, so it's easier for the body to absorb it. Because it has this function, another cool thing that it can do is that it can bind to calcium and get rid of any extra calcium that's in your urine, so then it can prevent kidney stones. Lastly, it can help preserve food, so like canned fruits, and it can be used as a natural cleaning agent. I mentioned earlier that I picked this functional group just because it was tied to health and fitness, because the first impression that I had of it was just knowing that it was part of an amino acid, but even after learning about it in chemistry, it was also just very interesting to me. It was definitely a functional group that had a lot going on. It could be made into a salt with dissociation, it could be made into an ester with esterification, it could be turned back into a carboxylic acid with hydrolysis, and even in the lab we learned how to make soap from carboxylic acids. All in all, it was just a very interesting functional group, and I really enjoyed diving in deeper into how it's found in so many different molecules that can impact our body, and I hope you enjoyed everything.